So thank you so much for being a part of this project. I am so excited to finally get the chance to talk to you. I feel like we've been like virtual artist friends, like yeah, over
Right.
here, like yeah.
DM here and
So
there.
it's so exciting to finally get a chance to talk with you. So just to kind of give our audience a insight on like what you do, who you are. You identify more as an artist and more like on the journalism side, like with your work. Your work has been published in quite a few places. And you have also physically been in quite a few places, sharing your ins and outs of your journey and how that all has unfolded. So, if you want to just kind of give the people, let us know like where you located, how you started, just kind of give us like the evolution of your brand.
I like that word, the evolution. Let's see. I'll give the quick intro-ish. But yeah, I'm originally from Liberia, West Africa.
Mhm.
Um, Came here when I was about two or three. Um, Went to yeah, so came here, grew up in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where I'm at now specifically.
Mhm.
We're here till 2006. Family moved back in '06. My dad's a pastor, so he got a job to be back at a pastor at a church there.
Mhm.
So that's just moving back to Liberia. So then I was there for my last 3 years of high school. Came back for my final year of high school, college, and then so I went to college at Western Michigan University,
Okay.
and go Broncos. And then that's where I picked up photography. So sophomore year,
Mhm.
I had a friend of mine, Brittany, who was I think she was studying like media studies or something like that nature.
Mhm.
And I was always wear like bracelets and things of that nature that I had from home. So she's like, "Hey, can you like be a hand model for me?" I was like, "Sure, why not?" And then so like kind of during our session, I was just asking questions about photography,
Yeah.
and trying to get to know all that kind of things. And she was like, "Yeah, you should go ahead and try it." So
Mhm.
I had like $300 saved that summer for. To this day, I still don't remember what it was for. um, but yeah, I just put on Facebook. I was like, "Hey, anybody selling a camera?" Somebody from my church happened to be selling a Nikon D40, which is like a older version of
Mhm.
Nikon. Um, yeah, got it. I mean, no experience at all. Just started, figuring out, doing stuff on campus.
Yeah.
Doing senior pictures. Pictures of my the Bible study ministry that I was part of. So yeah, different things of that nature. Graduated 2015.
Nice.
Um, and then I was working at a nonprofit right next to my church. So I was doing that while still doing photography, here and there. And then, 2 years in, I was kind of really just at the point of like, I didn't want to be there. And,
Mm.
photography was kind of getting in the way, or those two were kind of clashing. Sometimes I would have to work on the weekends, and that's usually when I would, have time to shoot and things of that nature. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I think summer 2017, August 10th, I think it was, quit my job. Um, yeah, been full time ever since. So
Wow. Okay.
crazy.
So, because I feel so, you and I have like somewhat of a similar background in that regard, as far as like how we ended up here.
Right.
I too started in church, and
Turn
with
up.
like, yeah. So that's where I started. I covered like any events or like even just some of the sermons and some of the shots. I
Mm,
still think back to this day, like, man, they're still pretty good. Even
right.
when I was in the beginner stage. So that's really cool to hear. I like that we have that in common. So as you're going through this process of uh, like your photography and just figuring out like what, like I know you mentioned as far as like things like flashing and scheduling and things and whatnot. Like, how
Mm-hmm.
did you figure out like? Did you kind of think to yourself like, okay, I want to do this, or I want to do this type of photography, I want to do this, or was it just kind of like it just kind of came natural to you? Because I feel like a lot of us feel me per I'll speak for myself, like
Mm-hmm.
feeling like I have to niche down into like I only do this one type of photography. And a lot of
Right.
people right
Right.
now know me for product work. That's
Mm-hmm.
not the only type of photography that I've done. But did you ever feel like, okay, I gotta focus in this one aspect, or was it just kind of like I'm just gonna let it blossom and go, like let it flow?
Mhm. I mean, I kind of did a little bit of everything. I mean, I think I still am capable of doing everything. I
Mhm.
think there are things I enjoy more than other things, like fashion, editorial, portraits.
Yeah.
But I think when first starting out, it was like I'm trying to, make money and pay bills
Yeah.
and type
Yeah.
of stuff. So it was like, oh, maternity, weddings,
Hmm.
senior pictures, all that kind of stuff. So I think first starting out, I think it's trying to one find your footing, but also like as you're doing things, you kind of figure out, okay, this I enjoy. Excuse me, I enjoy,
Yeah.
these things better than the other things. So I think throughout that process, you kind of eventually weed out certain things, or you just stop getting booking for certain things.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's okay as well too. So
Right. Do you ever feel like with social media and stuff now, like being, and I mentioned this recently, you saw my post about it. But do you ever have like a tug of war with yourself in terms of like what's cool or what's not, and like staying true, like am I sharing this because it's true to me, or am I sharing this because, like you kind of mentioned before, like, I'm just trying to make some money and like keep
right,
up those things. I feel like being full time is very different than like, oh, I got my 9 to 5 and I'm just weekends, like no big
right.
deal. Like, do you ever have like those tug of war moments with yourself of like, uh what's for the money and what's like really for me, like creatively, and like what I know like I love and what's more fluid with me.
Mhm. I mean, I think that's over time. That tug of war has changed,
Mm.
and mainly I mean, honestly, just financially. I think once you get to a place of being like really financially stable in terms of like having a good amount of savings and
Mm.
other things, that kind of frees you up to be like, oh, I can say no to this, or
Yeah.
I can say no to that, or whatever it is. Um, so I think there's still often can still be that tug of war of like, okay, there's client work and there's my personal work.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody the other day and just like I honestly want to shoot less, and obviously make more. So in terms of
Right. Yeah.
making, working smarter and not harder.
Right.
In terms of my pricing going up and things of that nature, but also like that being able to free me up to do personal projects, travel, just other things that I enjoy myself.
Hmm.
Um, so I think it's something that over time you kind of figure out.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, you still kind of people are going to hire you for what you do, which is the hope.
Right.
And I think just kind of for me, I'm still trying to okay, how do I bring an editorial feel to a certain type of photo shoot that might not be generally editorial. So I think there's that blend in there as well. So
Like with your faith, I know like your faith is like a really big part of like your process, and like I
mm-hmm.
know you've mentioned before with some other publications, guys. Some other publications. I just think it's so cool. Like I'm like,
That's
ooh.
funny.
Sorry to the same guy. With other publications, you talked about like balance and like mental health and just like kind of having a like healthy rhythms. That's just the word I'm looking for. And
Mm-hmm.
so,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say are some things, especially for someone who is more like faith based? And I
Mm-hmm.
really want to like hit on this because I feel like it's not talked about enough. Like
Mm-hmm.
being staying true to like your path, but also listening to God and knowing what's being given to you and what's just like you're just I'm gonna just figure it out myself.
Mm-hmm.
So do you ever feel like how do you balance that like with faith in the world as an entrepreneur when money is like non-existent or bookings are non-existent, like how do you
Mm-hmm.
balance that out more on like the faith end?
Um, man, that's a good question. Um, so I guess one, I think I guess kind of going back to the healthy rhythms thing is like for me, starting my day, working out, doing something that's mentally stimulating and then doing my devotions is like part of my life, right? So I think for me, it's making it part of a lifestyle where it's consistent enough where I'm not necessarily like balancing my faith in my work and kind of a thing, but it's like part of who I am necessarily. Um, and then two, I kind of think about, I think it was I think like early last year, I was in New York, working with a team with, and I was just thinking about, I think I wrote a poem about this, but I was just thinking, just kind of thinking about like how, or just kind of realizing how, like all the pleasantries that the world has and publications and features and working with people that, that people know a lot, like how easy it can be to get caught up in those type of things. So I was just realizing like, not just necessarily noticing like a tug of war, but just noticing like how possible it could be to be like, to get so wrapped up in those things that I forget about spending time with the Lord on a daily basis, or I forget about, things that are honestly really more important than my work being in a magazine. So I think it's, one, creating a lifestyle where that is constantly in my mind in terms of how am I glorifying him, not only in my work, but just like how I treat people, how I'm, talking to people, those kind of interactions are all part of like how you're essentially being a light. So
yeah, because I feel like now, especially like in the digital age, like trying not to get lost in like you were saying, like the publications, or like even just something as simple as like traveling to these different projects that you get asked to be a part of. And not like getting lost in it, like, oh yeah, y'all check me out. I feel like there's a difference like, I'm here, look at me, versus like I'm just grateful that I'm leaving somewhere like outside of my hometown, and just trying not to like get backed up and all.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, like the last 2 years, I mean, that's all God. Like I don't I can't claim any of that stuff because like, okay, one, COVID hit. And I lost like almost like probably almost 7K, maybe more in income. Was able to recoup not only the month that I lost, but way more through grants and a bunch of other things, which was just like God just doing his thing. Traveling and working with different people in the last couple of years. So, those things, like, man, I'm just happy to be here, like straight up. So
idea. I was freaking out, but God made a way. How do you how the project that like you more so like taking off for yourself, or even if you're working with a client, how do you come up with your concepts? Because some of them I'm like, that is so simple, and I'm over here stressing out, and that's right in front of my face. That is sad.
I mean, I think usually when I'm creating, I mean, whether that be a project, I think it's usually something that's either I'm noticing in the world, or I'm noticing in my personal life, so it's whether it be something I'm going through or something I'm noticing that other people are going through. So I guess, for example, I did a photo project called, I forgot what it was called, but something around like hitting like a block, like a creative block. I think it was actually called creative block or something like that.
It's like black and white.
And so I mean, the idea was, okay, me kind of creating a project depicting what that experience is to be in. So it was a weird kind of like metaphor, because it was like, okay, you are in a creative block, but then in a way to kind of get out of the creative block, you're creating a project about being in it. So it was kind of like Inception like type stuff. But yeah, so I think it's, so for example, that was, personal to me. And then, just other things that I kind of just notice that's going on, or things that kind of speak to me. So I don't think I have necessarily a formula, but I think those are the two things that kind of usually resonate when I'm creating something. So.
Okay. So there was a recent photo you did that I don't know if you submitted it into a competition or like someone picked it. I think it was
Yeah.
I think it's called. And it's I'm gonna see if I can like have it pop up on the screen while we're talking about this. But it's a black and white image, my favorite. It's a black and white image, and it's a black boy. I think he's like standing or like sitting on a stool, but then there's like a white girl or somebody like a white person like peeking through the door. I want to know, and this is going back to my other question of like how you come up with concepts. Were you just like walking around one day and was just like, this looks cool? Or was it just kind of like an accident? Because then I found out later, like, you didn't even know that the person was in the door. So I need to know, like, how did this happen? Because I'm just sitting here like, oh my God, that is what? You got that?
Right.
Like that.
Yeah, so actually I was doing an event for an organization. I think it's called Better, Stronger, Wiser. So actually, you know who Marvin Sapp is, right?
Yes. If I
so
don't,
his
my mama will beat me.
Right. So his brother, I think, started an organization that, does things for like young men and teach them, how to tie ties and different things of that nature. So I was shooting, I think it was they were doing a fundraising event at some like country club type place. Okay. And yeah, so I'm just, shooting, getting my stuff, doing what I need to do. And I think that kid was, so they had tables, but I think that kid was sitting at like one of the doors where he was kind of like greeting people when they would come in. So I think they had the kids like greeting people and, doing different things throughout the night to serve. So yeah, I mean, I was just shooting. I didn't, like I said, I didn't even notice her until I think I was editing the shots. And I was like, oh, snap, that's crazy.
Like, okay, yeah. Because I didn't even notice when I first saw it. And then I was like, oh, and it made it that much better. Like it was a kind of a fun surprise.
Yeah, it's crazy. I actually have another picture kind of like that where I was in Liberia. We're on a trip, and there's this kid at a gas station. I think I shot him through like our window, our van window, and I had it up for some exhibition. But like some people, like when they saw the picture, they didn't even see the boy. Like he was kind of like right next to a little like gas station thing in Virginia where you put your gas in, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, it was kind of just one of those. That's kind of what I called it, unforeseen. So it was like, oh, yeah, okay.
You said like moving forward now, having those beautiful accidents with your images, what would you say is like your ultimate goal, like moving forward with I don't know if I should even say like your brand because I feel like that sounds weird, but like with your company and like right. Person, like where are you headed? What are some things that you're looking to create for the future?
I want to eventually, open up my own studio space. For a couple of reasons of like being able to get out the house, to being able to, host people and have, different artists and things of that nature come in and do their thing, as well as have events, panels, all those type of stuff. So definitely that. I'm gonna shoot for, more publications in terms of like Time or New York Times or Wall Street Journal, those type of things, for sure. Honestly, just create, work that has something to say, really. So, I mean, of course, travel, all those type of things are desires.
That's part.
What I'm saying? But yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, if I'm creating work that I know that's authentic to who I am, and also that has something that has a message to say, I'm gonna be good. So
yeah, and I really feel like a lot of those messages still need to continue to happen and be shared. Even like things like this, like me talking with the various creatives that I know or that I've like, man, like I would love to just sit down and talk with them. Right. Just to kind of get some more insight, because I really feel like people get sometimes like naturally sometimes like get caught too much in our head that we forget that whether it's our life experience or whatever, we have like some very powerful messages that we can share in whatever way, whether that's an image or a poem, because I know you've written a couple beautiful poems and different things like that. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So leading with that, what What
Segue.
I'm like so good at these. What advice would you give to artists who are trying to create more, like who want or feel like they can't, or really just feel like they're stuck, like creating more work that has more of a message and not so much for the sake of like social media or trying to stay relevant or trying to be seen like every day, 3-4 times a day, a week, or whatever. Because I feel like that message gets pushed a lot. Like, what would you say to people, and like our audience, as far as like if they're battling with like trying to stay true to themselves as an artist?
Ooh, that's a lot. Um,
Take your time. Take your time.
I mean, one, I would say, I mean, you can't really be true to yourself if you don't know who you are. So that's the first step. You got to figure out, who you are. So I feel like a lot of who we are as a person, influences who we are as a creative and what we create.
Yeah.
I did this mentorship last year, and a friend of mine, and I think the the mentor had kind of, he wrote a little description to kind of introduce me to, his audience or whatever. And somebody commented, it was like, yo, that is literally you. In terms of like the description that he had, that he was talking about my work.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting because it was like, okay, that's interesting how like who I am comes out in what I do, or what I, the kind of work that I create. So yeah, I would say that's the first step. And then two, I would say kind of creating, knowing your voice, understanding what your voice is, what you're trying to say, and understanding that really like critique and opinions and other people's expectations just as naturally that comes with one, being a human, two, being an artist that puts out work in the public space.
Yeah.
So you can't really be afraid of that stuff. You kind of have to just kind of welcome it because it's going to come regardless. So one of the things I worked on this with my mentorship this past year was like, kind of going through my portfolio, my online website, that type of stuff. And realizing like, honestly, that is where your work and your best work should be at. Like your Instagram, honestly, should really just flow from like new work that you have. So I think on a standpoint of like, well, one, you should know your analytics, know when posting is best for you. And I think that's individual to everybody. So I don't think you need to be posting every single day. I mean, some people, that's what they do, and that works for them, or it doesn't work for them. Who knows? So I think it's starting and figuring out, okay, this is what works for me. So for like me, usually like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, usually at 11 o'clock. If I'm going to post something, it's going to be one of those days at that time specifically. And then and that's for like my personal, Instagram, but like my business Instagram is, if I have new work and I want to show it, then I kind of just show it, kind of a thing. So it's not, and I think because realizing that, your website is really where you need to be sending people to see the, the variety of what you do, who you are, the type of stuff that you create. And honestly, I mean, social media is just part of it's a good part of the problem, really. So I think also that's part of people desire to want to please other people, wanted to, which in a sense stems from personal things that, so if you're secure in yourself, or you're, you know who you are, and you understand those type of things, like you're not going to be seeking the approval of people that you don't know on the internet, really. And that comes with time, that comes with life experiences. And there was a quote that I had to find. If I can find it, I can't. Yeah. So the quote essentially was, it was really just around like, and of course he's a Christian, so he's talking from a faith perspective. Not to rest, because we're worried about like people forgetting about us or forgetting about our work. In a sense, is like you not trusting God. It's like you not relying that, okay, you're going to be okay, even
Mhm.
if you decide to take the day off, or,
Yeah.
don't work on Sundays, or you stop answering your emails at a certain period of time.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it was really, once I found out, I'll send it to you. Um, but it was just that desire for people to be relevant all the time, and desire to like always be in front of people. And it's like, it's not really worth it because
Also
people are
exhausting.
going to swipe and go to the next thing. So,
Yeah, I feel like it's also exhausting too because then it's like by the time you
mhm,
get back to like now, what was I doing? You like, and then being
right.
a service based, I feel like when you're more of a service based business, it's even more um,
hmm
it's even more like imperative to like have some sort of balance because otherwise it's just like you giving everybody else and you have nothing left for yourself to do or create or anything. So then you just kind of like you burnt out essentially. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, Lecrae had a quote where you live for people's acceptance, you'll die for their rejection. It's like, I
Mm,
mean, that's it. Like you people, like if we're always trying to please other people, sometimes we will, and then sometimes those people are going to be like, that wasn't cool, or that's not dope, and then you'd be like, dang, is it not dope? Like, is it not cool?
mhm.
So it's like, like how people will like their own picture. Like for me, I kind of see like me posting the pictures, me liking my picture. Like
Yeah,
I decided to put it out. I decided to share with people. So it's already been approved in a sense.
yeah.
Um,
Never thought of it.
your approval or your likes or whatever, your comments are just like
Yeah.
icing on the cake, so to speak. So
I just want to thank you so much for being a part of this project, being part of this series. I'm so
thank you.
finally got to chat or talk. And I look forward to seeing the next things that you will be creating, whether it's personal or client, but either way, like I'm here for it. So if
Appreciate
you
it.
want to just let us know like where we can find you, how we can check out your work and stay up to date with like your latest projects.
Yeah. So website alfieldreeves.com, ALFIELDREEVES.com, and Instagram, first name, last name, so Alpha Reeves Photography on IG. Yep.
Perfect. Well,
Holla
thank
at me.
you so much. He's all the way
Thank
from
you.
Grand Rapids, y'all. He's saying hi to us in Grand Rapids.
West side. West side.
Well, thank you so much for being a part of the project. I am so excited to share with everyone our conversation and the projects that both of us will be creating. And maybe like we could do something together. Or, like I could just stalk you one day and just watch what you're doing.
I'm
Um,
just. I mean, yeah, I'm always down. Always
yeah,
down for collaboration,
yeah.
link ups, and all that good stuff. So
For sure, for sure. Well, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing what else you create later.
likewise, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.